Hello and welcome back. Today, let's talk about the financial crisis in Lebanon. Weekly grocery bills can equal months of typical family's income. Banks are refusing to let people withdraw money. Basic medicines are often unavailable, and so is the availability of electricity at homes. Lebanon is grappling with a deep economic crisis, with successive governments piling up debt following the 1975 to 1990 civil war, with little to show for their spending binge. The World Bank has called it one of the worst financial crises in centuries. Downtown Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon, was leveled in the civil war, rose up with skyscrapers built by international architects and swanky shopping malls filled with designer boutiques that took payments in dollars. Lebanon's financial collapse since 2019 is a story of how a vision for rebuilding a nation, once known as the Switzerland of the Middle East, was derailed by corruption and mismanagement as a sectarian elite borrowed with few restraints. First up, how did it all happen? As often happens with a financial crisis, the situation built slowly and then collapsed quickly. After Lebanon's 15 years of civil war, which ended in the 1990s, the country decided to tie its currency to the US dollar, rather than allowing global financial markets to determine its value. Lebanon's central bank promised that 1,507 Lebanese lira would equal to about $1, and that Lebanese bank would always exchange one for the other. That policy brought stability, but it also required Lebanon's banks to hold a large store of US dollars. For years, Lebanon had no problem attracting dollars, but after 2011, that changed. A civil war in Syria and other political tensions in the Middle East hurt Lebanon's economy. The growing power of the group Hezbollah, which the US considered a terrorist organization in Lebanon, also deterred foreign investors. To keep dollars flowing in, the head of Lebanon's central bank developed a plan. Banks would offer very generous terms, including an annual interest of about 15% or even 20% to anybody who would deposit dollars. But the only way for banks to make good on these terms was by repaying the initial depositors by money from new depositors. Of course, there is a name for this practice, a Ponzi scheme. Once people realized that, everything fell apart. 2019 was when people stopped being able to get their money out of the banks. Officially, the exchange rate remains unchanged, but in everyday transactions, the value of the lira has plummeted by more than 90% since 2019. The annual rate of inflation has exceeded 100% this year. Economic output has plunged big time. Even before the crisis, Lebanon was a highly unequal country with a wealthy political elite that has long enriched itself through corruption. Three new problems on the way. The first one, the government tried to raise money by imposing a tax on all WhatsApp calls, which many Lebanese families use because phone calls are so expensive. The tax infuriated people, many of whom saw it as another example of government-imposed inequality and prompted large and sometimes violent protests. People outside looked at the country and said, why would I involve my business in a place like that? Second, the pandemic hurt Lebanon's already vulnerable economy. Tourist, which makes about 18% of Lebanon's pre-pandemic economy, was hit especially hard. Third, a huge explosion at the port in Beirut, Lebanon's capital, in August of 2020, killed more than 200 people and destroyed several thriving neighborhoods. A lot of people couldn't afford to fix their homes. What now? Lebanon has formed a new government for the first time since the explosion. The Prime Minister is Najib Mikati, a billionaire who held the position two previous times since 2005. The French government and other outsiders have pushed the Lebanese government to enact reforms, but there is little evidence it will. The Biden administration, focused on other parts of the world, has chosen not to become deeply involved. Many Lebanese families are relying for their survival on money transferred from family members living in other countries. I hope the video provides you with a good framework of understanding the financial crisis and hyperinflation in Lebanon. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, and I see you next time.